Toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And welcome to our show today. It is Monday, March 22nd, 2021, start of a brand new week of craziness here. And today's show is going to be a little bit different. We have a guest in our second hour, so we're going to do half hour of news as fast as I can. Then we're going to open up the phone lines for half an hour for your phone calls. And then in our second hour, we're going to be talking with Dr. Michael D. Knox, who's the chair and founder of the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation. We're going to be talking about the foundation. We're going to be talking about his new book out, Ending America's War. So I'm getting a lot of email from people saying we need more guests on the show, and so we're listening to that, and we're gonna do that. Meanwhile, Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials and keeping us out of trouble. And let's get right on into it. Getting on back to the mass shooting okay. Am I getting a call from Skype? Okay, we had apparently a temporary problem with Skype, and are we back on the line?
You're good.
All right, we're good. All right, I have no idea what happened to that, but anyway, like I said, we're going to have Dr. Michael D. Knox in hour number 2 of our program, and then Skype froze. Okay, is that now, or is that what happened before? Are we on the air?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, we're good. All right. Welcome to live radio, people. It's always an adventure. It's not a job. It's an adventure here. All right, let's get into the news here. We're still seeing the fallout, if you will, from that tragedy in Atlanta where this individual went on a shooting rampage in multiple massage parlors. They're calling it the Massage Parlor Massacre. And we noted last week how the corporate media and various politicians were just absolutely trying to rewrite the narrative to be a white supremacist attack on Asians. And even though the shooter himself, who was in custody, was saying he's a sex addict, he viewed the massage parlors as enabling his addiction, and that's why he went on the shooting rampage. It's a terrible way to deal with the addiction, but that's the reality of what's been going on. So I'm looking at this story from therightscoop.com, and it's saying it's time to take down the media narrative, which is distorting the facts in Atlanta. And they're absolutely right here. It's a textbook case of how the media distorts what's going on in the world here. We have Robert Aaron Long, was this 21-year-old man, was charged with the murders, and he told the police his actions were not racially motivated. They came out of his sex addiction. Speaking to NPR on Thursday, the FBI Director Christopher Wray said, while the motive remains still under investigation, it does not appear the motive was racially motivated. We are hearing there is no evidence of a racial motive whatsoever. The Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock basically said, we all know hate when we see it. And apparently this does not come up to that. Interestingly enough, as much as they're trying to sell this idea of white supremacism being at war with Asians, the FBI crime statistics tell another story entirely. Apparently, whites are actually a very tiny minority in crime statistics compared to their per capita population. Other ethnic groups are much more highly represented in attacks on Asians. I remember during the Los Angeles riots, when the blacks ran rampant through South Central, they just, through that whole area, they were attacking the Asian storekeepers. So the FBI crime stats say no, there isn't really an epidemic of white people attacking Asians. Interestingly enough, everybody is trying to hop on the sympathy wagon regarding Asians right now. And Kamala Harris, remember, nobody's really sure what she is here. And she was being, touted as a black female, first black vice president, which I don't think is accurate anyway. This week, she's being referred to as an Asian, which is even more remote from the reality of her family tree, as it were. Story coming out of Investment Watch blog: Why is the media suddenly obsessed with hate crimes against Asian people? Are they trying to create a new victim class? Is it just another in a long chain of distractions that we have, to keep us from paying attention to how badly this country is being managed? It's really crazy out there. All righty. The Trump-appointed top federal prosecutor for Washington, D.C., he's leading the riot investigation, what happened back on the 6th, the Capitol protest. He's saying that former President Trump could be charged. The facts do support sedition, and mentioned that 11 Molotov cocktails had been modified to act like napalm, which is sadly rather easy to do. Okay, the U.S. is now charging 4 leaders of the far-right Proud Boys with conspiring to block Congress from certifying U.S. President Joe Biden's election on the day of the assault, January 6th, on the Capitol, according to court papers unsealed last Friday. And all 4 defendants are the leaders or organizers of Proud Boys chapters in their respective states. All right. Now, here's an interesting little story. This is from southfront.org, and it's saying that defiant U.S. soldiers are questioning whether the Black Lives Matter riots weren't treated like the Capitol's so-called insurrection. And apparently they're out there just saying, why was there such a difference? So the Pentagon is establishing a new extremism training program. They're saying it's needed for troops who can't see the difference between the Capitol riot and the Black Lives Matter protests. So they're getting a little brainwashing going in there to say, Black Lives Matter riots are good and the protest at the Capitol building is bad. So they're going to be doing that here. All right, Donald Trump is getting ready to endorse Brad Raffensperger's potential GOP primary challenger, Representative Jody Hice, as revenge for the Georgia Secretary of State not supporting the election fraud claims. And we know just how the fraudsters are absolutely in lockstep, or should that be goose step, trying to make that go away. But it's not going away here. And President Trump is getting ready to launch his own news social media platform in 2 to 3 months, and I am certainly going to be signing up for that one, along with the one that Mike Lindell has announced he's going to be starting. Trump is still out there saying the election was rigged. He is dissing the Supreme Court as being gutless for rejecting every single case that was presented to them for legalistic trickery, no standing, all kinds of excuses made. The supporters of Biden like to say, well, every case that's gone to court has, been proven to be wrong. No proof was ever offered. The evidence was never allowed before the bench. The cases were shut off before they had their day in court. There are something like another dozen still out there. Getting on to other politics, congressional earmarks are back. The Democrats absolutely love them. The Democratic majority in the House of Representatives will allow up to $13 billion with a B in earmarks on House appropriations bills, 10 per member, for a total of up to 4,350 earmarks for fiscal year 22, which Democratic members of the House can use to throw money into their district in order to win votes for possible re-election. The House Republicans released a statement arguing the earmarks are a pathway to congressional corruption. They're certainly right about that. The late Senator Tom Coburn frequently called earmarks the gateway drug to corruption and overspending and spearheaded the 2011 ban. So we're definitely slipping backwards. Over in Michigan, in Antrim County, where the first system glitch in 2020 election was identified, they have made a decision not to use the Dominion voting machines in the upcoming May election. They're going to hand count the paper ballots to make sure they get an accurate result. So there's a little bit of good news coming out from that area. Meanwhile, over in Arizona, the state Senate has ordered a hand recount of 2.1 million ballots from the 2020 presidential election. And if the hand recount shows that there was a huge margin of error between what was coming out of the machines and what was actually being reported, it's going to be a domino effect. You're going to have other states saying, we got to go back and take a look at this stuff. This could be the beginning of this whole fraud being brought down, and it needs to be brought down, because if the elections are being rigged, then we, the American people, are totally disenfranchised from this nation. We have no say at all in how the government is going to be run. Out in California, there is a bill being considered that would ban police officers guilty of public expressions of hate. It would also target police who have conservative views. So California wants all the police on the ground to be liberal in their political leanings, which, frankly, my idea of a police officer is their own personal politics should not have a bearing on how they carry out their duty. But apparently the people behind this bill think quite the opposite view. All right, let's talk about COVID-19. Story coming out of Investment Watch blog again. 3 fully vaccinated people have caught the COVID-19 coronavirus. The 4th came down with the B117 variant. And we're starting to see in states with good vaccination programs, the COVID numbers are starting to go back up. Over in Pakistan, their Prime Minister Imran Khan tested positive for COVID-19 2 days after getting the vaccine. That's exactly what happened to my doctor. She got the shot. 3 days later, she had COVID-19, infected her entire family. And the propaganda is still flying all over the place here. This is from Cuz Blue. And AstraZeneca is out there insisting that their vaccine is 100% effective at keeping people out of the hospital and stopping them from dying the disease, according to a new U.S. trial. And we know how those trials can be biased. You know, it's the golden rule of science. Whoever's got the gold decides the science. Another story, this one coming out of vmmeta.com. Ivermectin is effective for treating COVID-19. This is coming out of 46 different studies. But you know, the medical industrial complex, they don't want cures. Cures are not profitable. With vaccines, you're selling medicine to every single person. With a cure, you're only selling medicine to those who are actually sick, which is not all that many people. Even Goldman Sachs is out there saying that curing patients is a bad business model, that the goal is to be constantly treating them, vaccinating them, and just keep the money flowing all the time. Somebody has come out with this suggestion, and there's no proof for it yet, but just to show you how crazy they can be, there is a suggestion that injecting men with the female hormone progesterone could reduce the symptoms of their COVID-19. This, of course, would lead to feminizing the men who got that shot. Meanwhile, there's a little bit of a bright light on the horizon. Story coming on out of Tethasta.com. Experts are saying that the summer of 2021 will be remarkably different from last year. Now, I'm reading into it that's saying things are going to be better and more enjoyable. On the other hand, they may actually be saying that things are getting worse. But apparently there was an article in the Huffington Post in which Gillian Wilson said hope is coming back full force this year, and I hope she's right. What I am seeing around here and people I talk to and people I text message on is it doesn't matter what the government says anymore. People are throwing away those masks. They're not observing the 6-foot distancing guidelines. They've had enough. They're ready to go back to their normal lives. And bolstering that is the former chief of the Food and Drug Administrator, Scott Gottlieb, has come on out saying that the 6-foot social distancing mandate was not based on clear science. And this 6-foot distancing requirement has probably been the single costliest mitigation tactic employed in response to COVID, and it really wasn't based on clear science. It should have been looked at a little bit more carefully. Now, there's a lot of people out there saying that separation, as long as you're wearing a mask, the separation isn't needed. Then you have things like Mythbusters, which demonstrated that without a mask, if you sneeze and cough, the infected droplets can go 30 feet. So they just picked a number out of the air, 6 feet, and that's what we were all told to do. Okay, a little bit of good news. Pardon me. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Del Bigtree basically had a landmark victory in a vaccine lawsuit, and here's what they came up with. They demanded the relevant government documents proving that all federally approved vaccines had been tested for quality over the past 32 years, and the government came up with zero. Not a zip. There were none whatsoever, and there are huge legal and practical implications in this legal victory, because I can imagine the pharmaceuticals are probably out there saying, boy, it's a good thing we're protected from civil lawsuits, because boy, would they be cranking up right now. All right, a new era of personalized medicine. The National Health Service is trialing DNA tests in Northeast England to check patients' hidden risk of heart disease. Now, this is not entirely new. I had to have a DNA test for one of the medications I'm on because they're acknowledging it doesn't work on everybody, and you have to have a certain genome for it to be effective, and so I've already been through that situation. Down in Miami, things got really out of hand. I guess the spring break crowd are feeling so repressed by being locked down and masked and 6-foot separates, and the cork has been pulled out of the bottle, and the fizzy soda is just spraying all over. There are all these wild videos from Miami Beach. City officials are trying to crack down on the spring break mayhem. There's been curfews declared. The police have gone in there, and it's not spring break so much as it's turning into a riot down there. Another article, this one coming out of Dr. Richard Day, and he is basically talking about the subject of cancer and the possibility that cancer cures are being suppressed as a means of population control. And of course, along the way, whatever wealth you have accumulated in life is siphoned off to the medical industrial complex. And Dr. Day is saying if people were to stop dying of cancer, we would become quickly overpopulated. Well, I think we are overpopulated, especially with politicians. Again, this idea of population control, I don't like the idea of total strangers playing God with anybody else's life and say, you can have kids, you can't. You have to live a long life, you don't. To me, that's a little dystopian right there. All right, getting into the international news, the Taliban is warning of a reaction if the United States stays in Afghanistan beyond May 1st. Now, remember, Donald Trump promised that he was going to get all of our troops out of Afghanistan May 1st. Then we got word that we actually had more troops in there than had been officially acknowledged. Then Biden hemmed and hawed and said maybe not make the May 1st decision. And then late last week, we got the report that the Pentagon wants to keep troops in Afghanistan until November. So that's getting just a little bit tense over there. Iraq is confirming the withdrawal of U.S. troops. The troops in Iraq are to leave the country, according to Iraqi President Barham Salih, after a decision adopted by the Iraqi parliament. They're kicking the U.S. out of their country. So it doesn't really look like we've been victorious there, or for that matter, Afghanistan. We got to take a break for commercials, and we will be right back.
Hey gang, Patrick Slattery here with an important message that is pertinent to anyone who shops for groceries, eats food, or just has an inquisitive mind like myself. What I'm about to introduce you to is a segment of our food culture that has been kept so low profile to the American public that virtually no one is aware of how dominant it is on our refrigerator and cupboard shelves. What I'm talking about is the kosher certification industry and a new app, Koshertified, that delivers a comprehensive education on all aspects regarding this little-known practice. After reviewing this app, I found that it is useful for practically anyone who purchases food, regardless of their religious faith or identity. Its database of products not kosher certified is a win-win convenience for all food-conscious people. So why not check out thekosherquestion.com or click on the link at nationalbugle.com and see how modifying your grocery shopping with the Koshertified app can make a huge difference for your future.
As a listener of RBN, you're surely concerned about being informed and being ready for whatever may come. Please consider the following questionnaire as a soul-jarring wake-up call. If you answer no to more than 2 of these following questions, you probably aren't going to make it through any major disruption in our country. The questions were compiled by people that have been there. Are you really ready? Do you own your own firearm for the primary defense and protection of you and your loved ones? Have you ever been professionally trained to stand against life-threatening behavior? Have you ever practiced enough to fire 500 rounds during a 2 to 4 day time frame, day and night? Can you load, unload, fire, and clear a jam in total darkness? Have all the adults in your household been professionally trained? Are you, life and death, comfortable with your abilities with pistol, revolver, shotgun, and rifle? Are you aware that everything that you do to prepare for an emergency is a waste of time, money, and energy? If you haven't honed your abilities to their highest level to protect and keep what you have? Do you have the repair parts that will most likely be needed for each of your firearm, and do you have the ability to install those parts? Could you completely clean every firearm you own? Are you aware that your body won't go where your mind hasn't been? In other words, without proper training, followed by regular practice, you probably will not win a gunfight. Well, how did you measure up? Take the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to start correcting your deficiencies by receiving your Commander Lifetime Membership with Front Sight Firearms Training Facility. A one-time donation to RBN for $500 will give you a Commander Lifetime Membership at Front Sight as a tremendously huge thank you bonus.
$500 gets you 2 Commander memberships at Front Sight. $500 for 2 Commander memberships. Give one to whomever you would like.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
Welcome back to our show here. And speaking of Iraq, there is a movement in the House to repeal the 2002 authorization for use of military force against Iraq. This basically was a carte blanche for George Bush to go and start a war all on his own without the formal declaration of war by Congress required by the Constitution. And I'm not surprised they want this to go away for two reasons. One, it's been kind of exploited by subsequent administrations to engage in military authorization, again, without a declaration of war by Congress. And second, George Bush lied to get these authorizations for the use of military force going. In his original letter of transmittal to the Congress, he said that this was in retaliation for 9/11. And of course, then sometime later, George Bush himself on video admitted Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. So it's been a little bit of an embarrassment. They are expecting this repeal of the AUMF to go forward. It's got a lot of support. And to return the war declaration powers to the Congress where it rightfully belongs. Over in Iran, their Foreign Minister Zarif is blasting the European Union for asking Tehran to, quote, act responsibly, end quote, while ignoring the fact that Israel has nuclear weapons and has never signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. So Zarif went on Twitter to blast the European signatories to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, otherwise known as the P5+1, and still refusing to deal with the fact that Israel does have nuclear weapons. The United States is warning China that it will enforce sanctions on Iranian oil shipments. This is stuff that goes back to Trump-era sanctions against Iranian oil sales as shipments from Tehran to Beijing increase. And they're going to continue enforcing those sanctions. Right now, the United States is controlling 90% of Syria's oil. And Syrian Oil Minister Bassem Tomaa has revealed that around 90% of Syrian oil is under the control of U.S. forces. He says the Americans and their followers are acting like pirates as they are targeting the Syrian oil wealth and oil supplies. Well, you didn't think the United States invaded just to be good guys, did you? So he stated that the total direct and indirect losses of the Syrian oil sector had exceeded $92 billion, noting that what happened in Syria has never previously occurred regarding the exploitation of wealth and supplies. Now remember, when they invaded Iraq, they said Iraq's oil was going to pay for the war. That never happened. The Royal Navy is going to deploy a high-tech ship to fight Russian submarines in secret ocean war. The concern now is that the vital undersea cables may be at risk and subject to being severed. Remember, a few years ago, there were a couple of instances where undersea cables were severed, and it felt at the time like somebody was running a test to see what cables had to be cut at what locations to cause the maximum amount of shutdown of the internet. Over at the Pentagon, they're saying that India should not buy Russia's S-400 missiles, or they will be hit with U.S. sanctions. Now, this last story touches on something I've been saying before about, building up to win the previous war and not dealing with the modern one. Story coming on out of BreakingDefense.com. It says, bye-bye B-52s and carriers, hello, more destroyers and F-35s. And it says the U.S. needs to shift investment from hallowed but vulnerable legacy platforms, especially carriers, to more flexible and survivable weapon systems, above all, Aegis warships and the unfairly much maligned F-35. Well, I disagree with that. I think the F-35 deserves the kicking that it's definitely getting. And deserves to. All right, getting into the economic news. Actually, we're coming up here on the bottom of the hour. We're going to open the phone lines, area code 512-248-8252. And when we come back from the commercial break, we're going to be talking with Dr. Michael Fox about his Peace Foundation. I'm sorry, Michael Knox, rather, about his Peace Foundation and his new book there. Let's see, one more story I can fit in here from the economy. Massive U.S. government money printing is motivating investors to buy record gold and silver eagles, and they are very prudent to do exactly that. Meanwhile, E.B. Tucker is out there saying that gold confiscation might, in fact, be coming. and we should prepare for major shortages. Let's see. Okay. And we're coming up here on the end of the segment, getting into the commercial break. And when we come on back, we'll be taking phone calls. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Extendivite 7-herb formulation is approved to help maintain cardiovascular health and help lower blood lipid levels in adults. Extendivite is made from hawthorn, garlic, valerian, cayenne, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, and milk thistle. The herbs in Extendivite have been chosen for their ability to help with overall health. Many people have reported improved energy and stamina in just a few months. If you think you could feel just a little bit better, then Extendivite may just be for you. Extendivite is an all-natural supplement. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. That's HEARTDROP.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Is your property a financial burden and causing you grief? Have you tried to sell but can't find buyers? Or are you just too busy to sell your property? Don't worry, we have the right solution for you. We buy properties as is, with cash, close in 30 days, and pay all closing costs. Our service is ideal for property owners who are in pre-foreclosure, have high-end repair costs, experiencing financial hardship, going through costly divorces, are relocating, need cash for retirement, suffering family loss, or have tax liens. Whatever your situation may be, we can help you sell your property and get the money you need. If you own a single-family home or multiple family units, call us for a free consultation at 888-910-1037. That's 888-910-1037. Or visit our website at cashingproperty.com. That's cashingproperty.com. Sell your property fast and leave all your worries behind.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
Welcome back to our show here, and the phone lines are open. Area code 512-248-8252, and we're going to go to Al in Canada. Hello, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. It's William Shatner's birthday today. He's 90 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
I sent you a video.
I know. I got the video. I didn't look at it because I'm kind of busy right now, but Yeah, 90 years
Only about 3
old.
minutes,
He doesn't look it, does he?
Yeah. No, and he doesn't even sound like he's 90.
Yeah.
You know, he makes Joe Biden look like he's 110.
Yeah, really.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, I've been reading up on him. Jesus, man.
Yes,
That
I
poor
worked
guy.
with him on the first Star Trek movie.
So Joe Biden is, I think now we're entering like elder abuse here. This sort of stuff. I think we really are. Like that fall, I saw the fall, those 3 falls. They're trying to, you know, before it was the wind, and now they're trying to pass it off as, you know, his shoes are too slippery. Which might be the case, you know, because, you know, these high quality shoes that I can't afford are you know, the sole is made with leather, right?
Yes.
With cowhide or with some kind of hide.
Well, they got to get scuffed
I
up
can't
really
afford it.
good before you can get traction. I remember back in college theater, we had to wear Capezio dance shoes, and those things were just so slippery.
Yeah, it's like this. See, that's it right there. You know, it's believable, but still, come on.
No,
Really?
I'm not believing it because I'm not believing that Biden would be given shoes that had that potential for a fall by the Secret Service,
Yeah.
that they have them resold with, you know, like, you know, rubber or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. They're probably rubberized and they bend easier and they're more comfortable. They're softer. I mean, when you get older, it's not like, you know, you have this big thick cushion of really resilient and moist cartilage in between all those joints, right?
No, you don't.
No, a lot of it wears out. Some of it wears out real quick. Anyway, that's all I have, Mike. I just wanted to say happy birthday to the Shat Man. And about a minute into that video, he's a funny guy. He's
Yes,
a
he
funny
is.
guy. Anyways, I appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks an awful lot here. The phone lines are open, area code 512-248-8252. And we're going to go back to some more news while we wait for phone calls. Let's talk about the economic news how. There's an indicator out there called the Buffett Indicator. And right now, according to this story from Investment Watch blog, it seems to be pointing toward a bigger global bubble than in 2007, and the blame is being laid on the Federal Reserve for just cranking out more money like there's no tomorrow. And the way they're doing it, there might not be, actually. We talked about the gold confiscation already. A lot of people have been wondering what the heck is going on with Bill Gates, where he's buying up all this farmland. And somebody posted on Reddit, "Hey, Bill, why are you buying so much farmland?" And Bill Gates actually replied saying that seed science and biofuel development were major drivers of those acquisitions. So now we know what was going on with all of that acreage. Okay, getting on to immigration. There is a new video out from Project Veritas, and it is from a whistleblower showing images inside that Texas detention facility where the kids are being held. We linked the video to the front of whatreallyhappened.com. You must take a look at it. It is absolutely shocking how these children are being treated. Prisoners in federal jails are treated better than these kids. They really, really are. And again, they shouldn't be here in the first place, but still, it is very, very hard to see children being treated like that. Speaking of Project Veritas, a New York Supreme Court judge last week excoriated the New York Times, ruling they used a reckless disregard and acted with actual malice when 2 of their reporters deceptively presented opinions as fact in several articles denigrating Project Veritas. Well, I mean, isn't that what the coal corporate media does anyway on a daily basis here? Biden is housing COVID-contaminated illegals in facilities built for oil employees. And according to Jesse Waters on Fox News, we're heading toward 200,000 illegal border crossers per month. At least we were. We are now getting word that the Department of Homeland Security is closing the border down, but the illegal immigrants who already got in are being allowed to stay. Nearly 1,000 unaccompanied children have been held at the border for more than 10 days. It's being described as a humanitarian crisis. And again, if you look at that Project Veritas video, it definitely will look like that. Trump is hitting back at Biden for blaming Trump for the border wall crisis. Trump is saying Joe's government is in way over their heads and taking on water fast. Trump has described the border crisis as a national disaster. It's certainly a national embarrassment. Democratic Texas mayor is coming out saying it's a breach of national security not seen before in modern history. His small town is swamped by 150 migrants every single day. The Biden administration now, since they have a checkbook full of your tax money, is considering flying migrants to the Canadian border as the surge is growing, and this is looking for a way to ease pressure on the overwhelmed facilities in Texas. The tactic is under consideration. The problem is, where are you going to put these people at the Canadian border? Because I don't think Canada's going to let them in. You know, of course, with Trudeau in office, I could be wrong about that, but we'll have to wait and see. Another article on this very thing. This is coming out of Vanity Fair, saying that Biden's border press blackout is making his immigration problem worse. And that's true not just for the border crisis, but his entire administration, his unwillingness to hold press conferences. A lot of people are scratching their heads. There's a new poll out where a majority of American voters do not think Biden is actually running the country right now. Okay. Our phone lines are open. Area code 512-248-8252. Getting into the politically correct woke stuff, the Oregon Department of Education has launched a new instruction program for public school teachers throughout the state that claims mathematics is racist and promotes white supremacy. Now, it was bad enough when Common Core came along and made solving of math much more difficult than it had been before. Now they're just saying mathematics in general is racist and white, supremacy. Now, I was having a discussion with the lovely Lady Claire the other day about how Common Core was teaching math, and I said, you know, when I was young, when I was in school, they just had us memorize the multiplication tables out to 10 times 10. And so you'd look at the multiplication problem and you just automatically remembered what the answer was. You didn't have to go through all of that calculation. And I'm wondering why our schools are not doing that anymore. Another story, this one out of UNS.com. The use of per capita statistics is now white nationalist. And in general, the group disproportionately most likely to commit hate crimes in the U.S. are African Americans. They're 13% of the population, but they commit 23.9% of hate crimes. But hate specifically against Asian Americans, solid numbers are not available for 2020. Their data from 1994 to 2014 that finds little racial skew among those committing anti-Asian hate crimes. Hostility comes from every other community pretty equally. So again, this gets back to that Atlanta tragedy where they're trying to say white supremacists and anti-Asian hate, and it's just the numbers don't back it up here. All righty, up in British Columbia, there's a father who's identified only as CD. He has been arrested after continuing to refer to his biological 14-year-old daughter, known as AB, as she, and his daughter, after the child transitioned to a male gender following a court-ordered gender transition treatment. The Supreme Court of British Columbia, Canada, ordered the child receive testosterone injections without obtaining parental consent. CD opposed the transition as the parent, but he was overruled after physicians at British Columbia Children's Hospital who decided the girl should receive testosterone injections. The father continued to defy gag orders, including a bar on his trying to persuade his own child to wait before making such a change. Earlier in the day, RBN sent me this really cool graphic that said parents should not be choosing the gender of their sons and daughters because God already did that. Now, I'm not religious, but I think it's a great comment, and it really gets right to the core of that. Getting into computers here, and the phone lines are still open. Area code 512-248-8252. Acer, which is one of the largest computer-making companies in the world, has been hit with a $50 million ransomware attack. They are the attack of a Revil ransomware attack, and the cyber criminals are demanding $50 million to decrypt the data and not leak sensitive information on the web. And this is now the largest ransom demand ever made by a ransomware group. The same group, Revil, is also responsible for the dairy farm hack and its $30 million ransom demand. And I'm wondering, when the heck is law enforcement going to realize there is a major, major problem here? The silence, as they say, is deafening on this issue. It really is. Okay, we've been talking a while about the Exchange server vulnerabilities. Microsoft Defender antivirus now automatically mitigates the Exchange server vulnerabilities. As of March 18th, Microsoft said the software will automatically mitigate the Exchange server vulnerability that is being actively exploited in the wild. And again, why isn't law enforcement doing anything about this? Well, they're too busy, I guess, handling those protesters and spring breakers and everything. All right, we're going to take a phone call now from Kelly in Austin. Hello, Kelly. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I'm really disturbed about this nonsense about mathematics being racist.
Yeah.
Again, I have a very strong background in mathematics, and it's just played an integral role in everything I've done in my professional career. And so, to those people who want to argue that there's not a precise answer for things, let me pose two scenarios here. One, where our bathrooms are being remodeled right now, so we had to buy X amount of square feet of tile to lay on the bathroom floors. All right, so you need to know how much tile you need. All right, so let's say the dimensions in one area for a tiled area are 10 by 12. How many square feet of tile do you need? Do you want to buy 100 square feet? 120 square feet plus? And on the other hand, let's suppose that you go to a store, you buy something, and the clerk the bill is say $2.50. And you give the clerk $5, and the clerk gives you back $2.
Okay.
Okay, well, don't you want the right change?
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, simple things like that, to me, just blow that argument right out of the water. And then to make it even more complicated now, let's say you're an engineer and you're designing a bridge. Mm-hmm. And so you are trying to figure out how much stress these pylons can take. So it's an exercise in statics.
Yes.
So your calculation of how much stress that pylon can take has got to be precise. You cannot underestimate. You may overestimate for safety's sake, but you cannot underestimate. So again, there is an accurate answer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to me, when I hear people say things like, it's racist and there's no accurate answer, I go back to those three examples, and I can give you many more.
Oh yeah, the real world can come on in and remember what happened with Galloping Gertie up in the Tacoma Narrows Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
That's a case of somebody,
absolutely.
not paying attention to the decimal points.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so I think ultimately, the argument falls. The argument becomes absurd when you consider even simple examples like that, and then throw in more complicated. Now, did you have a chance to look at that video I told you to look at the other day of the exchange between the Chinese diplomats and the Secretary of State?
I did get to look at part of it, not all of it, because it was kind of a busy weekend. But please continue.
Well, I mean, again, if you what I want to emphasize here is it's obvious as heck that the American contingent went in there completely unprepared.
Oh yeah.
The Chinese were ready for them, and it was a slaughter.
Yes, it was.
And really, it ought to be a point of great embarrassment to most Americans to think that Biden is going to put idiots like that out to try to conduct foreign policy for the United States.
Well, the corporate media is saying it was all China's fault, bad China, we're great, they're not. And I think part of the problem was that the American delegation has fallen into the habit of believing their own propaganda, and that's why they were caught off guard.
Oh, yeah. Well, they walk in with an air of moral superiority.
Yes.
And not considering that they really have a sense of superiority about, period. And that's exactly what the Chinese the Chinese diplomats pointed out, that while you're pointing the finger at the rest of the world for human rights abuses, you need to look in your own backyard.
Yes.
Because you have a very long history of human rights abuses.
Oh, yeah, we're one of the worst.
Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
Yeah. They just mentioned Black Lives Matter, but go back over periods of decades, hundreds of years. The relations between the United States government and Indian nations.
Yes.
That's one long horror show of human rights abuses. And then you got, of course, what happened in World War II with the Nisei. And what happened in World War I and World War II with Americans of German and Italian of German ancestry.
Yes,
they were rounded up in World War I and in World War II and sent to concentration camps. They get overlooked in the picture, and so it did my heart no end of joy to see the American ambassador just
Kelly, Kelly
slapped. Yes.
Got to put you on hold. Got to take a break for commercials. Don't hang up. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed the newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
The newspaper? Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, a majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper does not give out the important attention on what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
Extendivite has proven time and again it really works. Here's a testimonial from Amazon.com. I am only 40, but I have put my body through hell working in manufacturing for 20 years. I recently started to notice a buzzing feeling along with a stuttering sensation with my heart. I had a full cardio stress done, which I passed. I decided to try Extendivite after getting the jingle stuck in my head. Halfway through the bottle, I really did notice a difference. After getting home from work, I would just sit in a chair for a few hours feeling like crap, and this stuff reduced that feeling along with heart discomfort to almost nothing. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. That's HEARTDROP.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Born in the city with a silver spoon, great-grandson of the oil tycoon, raised by wolves, thinks he owns the moon, socialist banker to the one-world goons, Davy Rockefeller, chairman of the CFR.
And welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Kelly in Austin. And Kelly, if you just want to finish up what you were doing.
Yeah, if you look at what's happening now with the Biden misadministration, the United States looks more and more every day like a country that's being run by a bunch of clowns.
Well, it's being run by a bunch of drug lords and various other criminals.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yes.
But Biden in particular is a clown. And frankly, so is Kamala Harris. I heard somebody say today, and I forget where I heard. I listen to podcasts and whatever off and on all day as I do stuff here on the computer. And I heard somebody mention it looks as though the Democrats. You see the press now saying more and more things about Biden that you might not have expected because he's a Democrat.
Yes.
But they're becoming more and more critical, and so are more and more Democrat politicians. And the point that he was making was that it looks as though you're seeing the beginning of an effort to try to get rid of Biden, because he absolutely unprepared for the job. This issue on the border has just blown up in his face, and there's no prospect of things even improving. They've attacked the economy from a number of directions, and now they want to raise taxes. It looks as if everything they're going to do is really an assault on the American nation in particular, an assault against 50% of the nation in particular.
Okay.
And I think a lot of Democrats are becoming a little edgy about this because they realize that what's going to happen in 2022 if this doesn't stop is that they're going to get waxed.
They absolutely
so
are.
have to do something
Anyway,
to get,
listen, I need to let you go. Yeah. We're coming up in the top of the hour, and our guest, and I want to squeeze in one more phone call from Peter in Los Angeles. Hello, Peter. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. I wanted to just chime in on a couple of things that you just were talking about with Kelly. And the American delegation came into that conference with China absolutely unprepared and relying on, like, diplomatic shock and awe, like Christ come to cleanse the temple. And everybody's supposed to just quiver and shake. And the Chinese said, hey, look, you don't have that kind of power anymore. They were brutally honest, and we don't. And it must be a shock to send our people out, and we can no longer shock and awe people diplomatically nor militarily, frankly. But the other thing, Mike, on the math is racist thing, it's any metrics that frankly, and it's mostly, certainly not the Asian community, they score better than anybody else. But any metrics that habitually the black community is dismal at, like the SAT and the ACT, like the law boards that they're talking about with the Georgetown thing, they want to do away with anything that could be measurable where, you can refer to that for admissions or job, getting a job or whatever. They just want to go with equity and color.
Yeah, I know that's where we're headed with this thing. Peter, I got to let you go. We got to take a break for station identification. We've got Dr. Michael Knox waiting on the line after station identification.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us.
800-724-2719, extension 3. 800-724-2719, extension 3.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, putting America first, second, and third. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are closed right now because we are welcoming as our guest Michael D. Knox, Dr. Knox. He's the chair and founder of the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation. And Michael, thank you for spending time with us again.
Well, Michael, it's so nice of you to have me back.
Well, no problem. For those of our listeners who don't know about the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation, let's start with that, and then we'll get into your book.
All right. Well, the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation is a 501c3 not-for-profit. Its purpose is to honor Americans who work to end war, and we document the work of and honor courageous Americans who have had the courage to speak up against U.S. war in particular and work for peace. We publish the U.S. Peace Registry. We raise funds to build the U.S. Peace Memorial as a national monument in Washington, D.C., and we award the annual U.S. Peace Prize. So we have a website, uspeacememorial.org, and people can look there to learn more about what we do.
Okay, and how long has this Peace Memorial Foundation been in existence?
Since 2005.
All right, so you're definitely getting on there. 15 years now, 16 years, I guess. You're coming up on your 16th birthday. So tell us about the new book that you've got coming out.
Well, the book just came out. It's in hardcover, paperback, and EPUB and Kindle. It's called Ending U.S. Wars by Honoring Americans Who Work for Peace. So that's kind of the mission of the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation. And in the book, I go about, demonstrating, discussing the U.S. culture of war. Then I have a chapter giving suggestions about how we might move towards a culture of peace. Then I go into discussing the plan to honor Americans who work for peace as a way to move us in that direction. And about the U.S. Peace Memorial, what it might look like, where it might be located, and what's going to be documented on it. And then we go on to recognize hundreds of Americans and organizations who have worked for peace, and they're all living Americans. And I'm proud to say that we're very happy to have honored some of your work. There are several examples of your work documented in Chapter 7 of the book. Your blog that's exposed some of the discrepancies that were used to justify wars, and you question official reports on the costs of war and successes of war, and your talk show, radio talk shows discussed war and peace issues many times, and you're actually one of the founding members, I think from 2015, founding members of the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation, and we appreciate that.
Okay, well, I blush, that I'm in the book, and I understand that the ultimate aim, or one of the ultimate aims for the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation, is a peace memorial in Washington, D.C., because Washington, D.C., they've got a memorial to this war, and a memorial to that war, and a memorial to this general, and a memorial, so forth and so on. But nobody's ever put up a memorial to those who work for peace in Washington, D.C., that I'm aware of.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. There are a few things around the country, and including in Washington, that have the word peace on them, but actually they're monuments to war. I think the American concept is you earn the peace by winning the war. So you need to have a war first, and that's not our purpose at all. We're trying to honor Americans who have the courage to try to stop wars, to end wars, to reduce military spending, nuclear armaments, and so forth. All the different aspects of that, ending sanctions that really harm the people of countries, and certainly not the leaders that we appear to have arguments with. So, there have been no monuments, and we are, this is a hard and probably long task. It took over 25 years for the Martin Luther King Memorial to be built in Washington. It cost over $100 million. So,
wow.
The World War II monument that was built fairly recently in the last, I think, 10 years or so. That was built after most of the veterans of World War II were already dead. So It takes a while, and we realize that. So that's why the book is so important, because the book serves as the U.S. Peace Memorial until it can be designed and constructed. So we document what people have done, organizations have done for peace in behaviorally specific terms. We have 12 U.S. Peace Prize recipients over the last 12 years, and their work is documented. We have quotations from famous Americans that will be, they're one of the chapters of the book, but they will actually be inscribed on the monument when it's built. And we hope that all the people who have, whose work is documented in the book will also have their work documented at the U.S. Peace Memorial in some kind of electronic form.
Okay.
So there'll be access to it for everyone.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to open up the phone lines right now, area code 512-248-8252. And if anybody has a question for Dr. Michael D. Knox about the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation or his book, please call on in, and we'll put you on the line with him. So I think it's a very noble ambition to want to have a peace memorial. As you said before, we have been taught to think that peace is only the result of having a war, whereas I think, in my view, peace means simply not having the war in the first place.
Well, exactly. And we know that we can use these resources. We spend most of our money on war and defense spending, CIA spending, which often is war spending.
Yes.
And, that's where we spend our money. But we know we can use it for other purposes, for infrastructure, for roads and bridges and healthcare. And we don't even have N95 masks in our local drugstores. We can't, it's just, you can tell where our priorities are when you see it's military spending.
Oh, yeah.
When you see that the presidents of the United States, including Biden now, he ended his Democratic nomination acceptance speech, his presidential victory speech, and his inauguration speech. He ended all of those with, "And may God protect our troops."
Yes.
So you know where the emphasis is. It's on militarization. He doesn't end his speeches thanking healthcare workers or teachers or farmers or tradespeople or any of the aspects of our community that make great contributions. It's always military. That's where we spend our money. Those are held up as heroes to our young people. And our purpose is to make sure that Americans, especially young people, understand that there have been great sacrifices made by people who have opposed war. They've done incredible things, and they need to be held up as role models. And people should consider, when the U.S. is at war, speaking out against that war, They should realize that it's socially acceptable to speak out against war.
Yes.
And they need to study more. Americans need to be more aware of what we're doing. And in Obama's last year, which is the last year we have statistics, the Council on Foreign Relations calculated that we dropped 26,122 bombs in 2016. That was 3,000 more bombs than we dropped in 2015. That's 3 bombs every hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that was in 7 different countries. And they actually told us how many bombings there were in each country. And when you think about that, Americans aren't even aware of that. And that bombing continues today. And now we're having tough talk with Russia and China and trying to provoke additional engagement. There'll be some missteps. We're surrounding Russia and China, and that will lead to some missteps that can lead to calls for escalation and calls for war. And our leadership, from our president down to the Congress and the military, will all be very happy. And the military, the corporations that benefit from military spending will be happy. And we need to stop it. We need to stop the provocations. We need to stop the wars that are going on right now. And we're killing people in at least 7 countries today as we speak.
Well, it's we're a warlike nation, and it's time we owned up to that. I think there's only been 3 or 4 years in the entire nation's history where we weren't involved in some conflict somewhere. And of course, we had that horrible civil war on our own soil that killed so many people. And it's almost like we're raised to think that war is acceptable and it's cool. Certainly, with a few exceptions like Full Metal Jacket, the movie industry tends to glorify and ennoble the idea of war and fighting war.
Yeah, absolutely. It permeates our culture. I mean, you can't even go to a basketball or football game or even city council meetings or religious service without some militaristic type of ceremony.
Yes.
Halftime show or whatever. It's every aspect of our culture. And think about this. The U.S. has bombed no less than, probably more than, but no less than 30 countries since the end of World War II. So that's, in my lifetime, we've killed millions of people. We've maimed tens of millions more. We've disrupted and destroyed education, healthcare, housing, businesses, infrastructure, environment in other countries. And since 1946, no other country has killed and injured more people living outside of its borders. And truly, we are maybe the greatest threat to peace on earth. 2014 Gallup poll International surveyed people in more than 60 countries and found that the U.S. was viewed as the greatest threat to peace in the world. And there's no wonder that's the perception, because that's exactly what we do. We do war.
Yeah, we do. And we sort of do it well, although lately I'm seeing a lot of stumbling. I mean, for all the money that goes into the military-industrial complex, we've seen disasters, boondoggles like the F-35, the Gerald R. Ford. They're already canceling the Freedom and Independence Littoral class vessels, and it's not only a lot of money, a lot of it is being wasted because the entire military procurement system has become corrupted. Anyway, we have a caller on the line, and Andrea in Oklahoma, do you have a question for Michael Knox?
Basically, I have more of a statement. At this time with the COVID and the vaccine, the COVID is just a big ploy to push their poison on the people of this nation, which is turning into, I guess, using the word Holocaust or genocide, seems to be more important to me at this point. there's no peace right now. We have our government seems to be the biggest terrorist, and everybody's life is on the line right now, and they're getting so crazy and so desperate to give everybody this vaccine that is known to have babies in it and AIDS in it, and you name it, they put it in it. Sick cows, sick pigs. I mean, they had to, and it's going to kill people. And it's going to be everybody, like in my family, everybody I told not to go get it, ran out and got it. Like,
okay,
they
Andrea?
couldn't wait to get it.
Andrea?
But that's my point. I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but that's my focus, and we're still at war right now. To put up anything about peace is just kind of silly, and that's...
Well, obviously, I disagree with you on that one. I think, Dr. Knox made an important point. We have to make seeking peace cool again. I remember back in the 60s when Vietnam was raging, it was socially acceptable to be anti-war and to wear the pins and carry the signs and, tie-dyed shirts and long hair and everything. It's hard to imagine me with long hair, but I did have it back then. We need to focus on that, and that's the whole purpose of this discussion. So do you have anything to contribute on the issues of war and peace?
Well, I remember protesting too, but it was mainly to bring our guys home.
Yes.
It was we didn't want them being slaughtered over there. We didn't want the Agent Orange being dropped on them. We wanted them to come home.
That's a good reason. That's a good reason to seek peace, is to save all those lives on both sides.
There's a giant one in Washington, D.C. with lots of poor fellas that lost their lives on it.
Yes.
I'd like to see, the peace flag. You brought that up a long time ago, of what the peace flag looks like. And it doesn't look like the flag we got right now, but that's because we're still at war. So... okay, that's my comment. I'll let you go. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you for the call, Andrea. Michael, do you have any feedback to that, or do we want to go on to another topic?
No, I think bringing the troops home is certainly a good idea. You had said before the question that we were sometimes successful at war, but I've got to say, we're not.
No.
And when we talk about bringing troops home, I mean, as I said, we've killed millions of people since the end of World War II. We've invaded at least 30 countries. And essentially, looking at what our goals were, we lost all of those wars. And I think after 20 years, we will eventually leave Afghanistan, although Biden now says he wants to leave troops there, even though Trump says
Afghanistan is saying leave by May 1st. Iraq is now telling our troops to get the heck out. So it does look like this.
And we need to. And it can bring our country down. The sheer expense of it can bring our country down. And we knew that from day one. We knew it from the Soviet experience, where the Soviet Union essentially fell apart because of its engagements in Afghanistan, and we're only there to trouble Russia. We essentially founded the Taliban to make it difficult for Russia and make it kill as many Russians as possible, so that they would find the war costly and leave. And now we're fighting them, and we're embroiled in the same kind of conflict that the Soviet Union was embroiled in. And I agree with your previous caller. We need to bring those troops home.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely need to do that. And I remember one time when I was still living in Hawaii, there was this anti-Iraq war protest. And, there was this guy saying, support our troops. And I said, yes, let's support them. Let's bring them home where they're going to be safe. And shot me a really dirty look there. But, every time there's a protest, there's always going to be these plants there from the government to try and keep the discussion going, rah-rah, victory or death and whatever else they're going to say here. So let's talk a little bit more about your book. In fact, where can people get it? Let's get that done before we run out of time.
Well, they can, if they go to our website, uspeacememorial.org. On the very first page, they'll see a picture of the book cover, which is the peace sign over some destruction. If they click on that, they will see all the various places you can buy it. Just about any bookstore, Barnes & Noble, there's a link to that. Powell's Bookstore, Amazon, Books A Million. There are a bunch of links. There's also the EPUB versions that are listed there. There are also lots of endorsements from people whose names they may recognize, endorsements for the book, people who have read the book carefully and they've drawn conclusions about it. They'll also see our Peace Prize recipients listed there, and they'll see design ideas for the U.S. Peace Memorial as a national monument. So I'd say going to the website and clicking on the book is the best way.
Okay, Mike, I got to put you on hold. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some have maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
Welcome back to our show here. Our guest today is Dr. Michael Knox, the founder and chair of the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation. And before we get back to him, a quick reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network needs your continued support. The postal address to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity, cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. If you send in a donation for $100 or more, include your T-shirt size and a return address, and you will get a spiffy official RBN T-shirt. And don't forget that we have the Front Sight Firearms promotion is still going on. There is a story just now breaking on the news. There's an active shooter going on in Colorado. We're going to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, let's get back to the phones here. We're going to go to Terry in California. And Terry, do you have a comment for Dr. Knox?
Yes, I do, Mike. And I think the best way to peace is to expose the lies in the beginning and go beyond that and expose the liars. And anyway, like, you know, some, they got the press. I give just one small example. My daughter was listening to 60 Minutes a couple weeks ago, and they had this piece about all these children that were getting tortured. I mean, tortured bad. And of course, they blamed Assad, and my daughter bought that. And she says, you know, we got to do something about him. But I think that was all a lie. I've seen the lies that 60 Minutes puts on.
Yes.
They got a format that two stories could be straight, and the third story could be propaganda. And the next week, all three could be straight, so people get that confused. They think it's a reliable source of news, and it may not be. So expose the lies, and if you can get deep into the details of it, I know they pretty well protect their private conversations on these things, you know. But we go as deep as we can and expose the liars, too. And by the way, you know, the war that I was in, everybody says we lost 58,000 were killed in that war. No, we lost 3 million that were killed in that war, and a lot by us to the Vietnamese. And a lot of South Vietnamese died that were friendlies. You know, that's another thing. You know, like, example, with all these villages all over that are different now, but, I mean, the country's different now, but the way the tactic they use, they sent a high-ranking Vietnamese, Viet Cong official in there, and he would just get everybody's attention by killing the village chief, chop his head off right there in front of everybody. And then he'd point his hands at the 15-year-olds and say, you're in the Viet Cong tonight, and tonight's your first mission. Okay, so they go out and they come back the next day. They don't have a choice. And then what happens? That village is designated a VC village. So the grunts come along and they Zippo lighter it, or we come along, we drop napalm on the village. And, you know, that sort of thing's got to be exposed as well.
Well,
anyway,
you know, we do try and expose it, but and I fear that's the reason why social media is now trying to deplatform and shut down anybody who is critical of the official story about anything, because if they're really aiming for a new world war, they can't have any people out there asking questions where the whole population can hear it.
Yeah, and if they do, they just ignore it. You know, they don't even address it. You know, like 9/11, all these examples of people saying their theory, and they're just ignored. You know, they don't even argue with them. You know, our narrative is the only one, and the other ones that we're not even going to respond to. Anyway, that's what I got, Mike, and I appreciate taking the call. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, thanks an awful lot. Mike, do you have anything to respond to that?
Well, Terry raised a lot of interesting and important issues in terms of the war he was involved in. You know, that's a war that keeps on killing. We left landmines and cluster bombs and napalm and Agent Orange, and now we're shooting depleted uranium all over the Middle East.
Yes.
And these wars are not just finite. They don't end when we lose them and go back home. They continue to kill people And of course, the people that, for every person we kill, the millions that we've killed since the end of World War II, for every one, there are at least 10 to 12 people who are seriously maimed and will live with that injury, that debilitating injury for the rest of their lives. And then you talk about the family members of the people we kill, and you're talking about hundreds of millions of people who are personally affected by U.S. wars. Regarding his point about exposing the truth, absolutely necessary. Shows like yours are important, and people have to take responsibility to look outside the standard news media.
All right, well, Michael, I got to put you on hold. We got to take another break for commercials. We've got more callers waiting on the line when we come back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Hello, I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz. I was right 30 years ago in warning the world about threatening lab virus outbreaks, AIDS, and Ebola. I was right 20 years ago when FBI Director Robert Mueller made me a suspect in the anthrax mailings because I warned the Bureau before the CIA's biocrime and Cipro sales psyops happened. I was right about COVID-19 being an AIDS-laced mutagen planned to resurge this fall to excuse officials' profitable depopulation globalization agendas. And I was right about the only safeguards being antioxidants and holy spiritual sustenance. Vitamin C, D, zinc, chlorophyll, oxygen, and oxysilver especially transmits the frequency resonance to neutralize the expanded function bioweapon. Oxysilver is a double superconductor of the healing power of love. It is the first nutraceutical invented to amplify prayer power and the faithful, loving intention of your heart. Buy, try, and stockpile Oxysilver through HealthyWorldStore.com.
Extendivite has proven time and again it really works. Here's a testimonial from Amazon.com. I am only 40, but I have put my body through hell working in manufacturing for 20 years. I recently started to notice a buzzing feeling along with a stuttering sensation with my heart. I had a full cardio stress done, which I passed. I decided to try Extendivite after getting the jingle stuck in my head. Halfway through the bottle, I really did notice a difference. After getting home from work, I would just sit in a chair for a few hours feeling like crap, and this stuff reduced that feeling along with heart discomfort to almost nothing. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. That's HEARTDROP.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
We are living in dangerous days, and I am frightened by what you say. It chills right to the core. This talk of holy war.
Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Michael D. Knox, who's the chair and founder of the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation. The website is uspeacememorial.org. He has a new book out on ending America's wars. And let's go back to the phone lines now to Dan in Washington State. Hello, Dan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi. Thanks for taking the call. I had 2 points. I think it's a great idea, and I hope you guys are successful. I think the Nobel Peace Prize has become kind of a joke.
Yes.
And, it's given peace prizes to Henry Kissinger and Obama and Bob Dylan, for some reason.
Yes.
For
Al Gore.
telling the world to get stoned. Yeah, Al Gore. So that would be great to have a counter to that, if we could get enough media attention, gradually. My second point is kind of the people who would be soldiers, the anti-war, kind of the working class, white and black people, have been kind of pushed out of the left wing by, I think it's COINTELPRO going on today, like people like Susie Sheehan or Cortez from New York.
Yeah.
They become like our leaders, right? And then they push just a bunch of social justice, the pink hats.
Yes.
Kind of ridiculous stuff, and then that pushes our people away from the left Democrat wing when we should be kind of just taking that over, I think. Or if that's a strategy, I think we've allowed them to scare us away with their nonsense, basically. So just wondering what you guys thought of that. I don't.
Well, Michael, what do you think of that?
Well, our book looks at a broad range of people and a broad range of anti-war activities, and I think there's room for everything in that range. We've identified more than 900 specific behaviors that people have engaged in. And if you're thinking about opposing war, you could look at this book, look at the role models, look at the examples of what they've done, click on the links if you want and read more about it, and then decide what you might do yourself, what you feel comfortable doing. So, it's everything from writing a letter to your editor, writing a letter to your member of Congress, to civil disobedience that leads to your arrest. So these kinds of behaviors that Dan was just talking about. I mean, some may feel uncomfortable to him, but there are lots of others that might feel comfortable to him and other listeners who want to oppose war. They don't have to wear pink hats or whatever the other examples were, but, every little bit counts. You have a responsibility to speak out against war. I grew up I was born exactly 9 months to the day after the bombing of Nagasaki. So one of the first, baby boomers. And I can imagine that my parents thought that, there'd be peace now, and maybe that's why they decided to have a child, the first child, because and I was conceived apparently in an army base. So with that hope, over 70 years ago, 75 years ago, that we could be a nation at peace, to a nation that has actually invaded 30 countries. I think you have a responsibility as a citizen to speak out against these atrocities. What we're doing now, it's not only spending our treasure and killing our soldiers and diverting us from the things we ought to be paying attention to, but it also is immoral. It's evil. And there's no nation that's doing more of this kind of murder around the world than the United States. And so we have a responsibility to do something. And you call it down for some things, but there are many things you can do.
Okay, thanks for taking the call. Yeah, that's I see a lot of examples of like COINTELPRO being used today, and it's frustrating. So thanks a lot. Great show, guys. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. And we're going to go to Pat in Florida. Hello, Pat. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
This is Pat in Fort Worth.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. Well, I just want to say that you look and see how many presidents had war. Carter didn't have any, but he gave away the Panama Canal, and he had the Iranians holding our hostages, that whole plane full of hostages, 40 days. And Reagan, they said he's a Goldwater Republican. He'll have us in war in no time. Of course, his was peace through strength motto. And on the day he raised his hand to take his presidential oath, they let the hostages go. So they say that was just HW with that October surprise. I don't believe that.
Well, I think there's compelling evidence that something was going on in the background there. It wasn't that a deal was made to hang on to the hostages in order to damage Carter.
Well, maybe President GW wanted to get Reagan in so he could become vice president, but I don't want to take up for him.
Yeah, and then there was the attempt on Reagan, which would have promoted GW to the Oval Office.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
And he lived through it. But Iran did it to President Trump by knocking that plane out of the air, thinking that he'd get mad, and he would do. But they got caught. And they were the embarrassed ones, and he said he didn't want war. Well, W. Bush was challenged by China because we made some kind of mistake. I can't remember what it was now. Maybe knocked out one of their submarines or something. And so they were ready to start a war. And he just said, well, I'm sorry, we made a mistake. And that was the end of that. That's enough, right?
Okay.
They do try a new president. They do try him, and this time they just want to get rid of President Trump. But that's
and look what we wound up with.
He did, but
look what we wound up with.
He did good.
All right. Well, listen, Pat, we're going to let you
well,
go.
That's because enough of y'all didn't vote for him. Enough people didn't vote for him.
All right. Well, we're going to switch over to Peter in Los Angeles. Hello, Peter. Welcome back to the show. Do you have a comment or question for Dr. Knox?
I do. And Dr. Knox, I appreciate your coming on. I really applaud this idea. It was interesting hearing from Terry what he had to say. That always good comment, but particularly personal. That was very good. One of the things I want to say as a former military guy is that the most disturbing trends that I see happening now. One, I'd like to hear what you say, Dr. Knox, is one of the things, the anti-war movement itself, the worst blow I think it ever received, was Barack Obama's ascension to the presidency. When there was a major anti-war movement against G.W. Bush back in the early 2000s, and it was, again, it seems to have been partisan, politically motivated to a very large degree. And once Obama came in as a black, quote, liberal, who ended up getting us in other wars again, but it completely eviscerated the anti-war movement here when hundreds of thousands of people were doing it when it was a Republican in office. But then we go into Libya, we go into Ukraine, we go into Syria, and all these other places, and back into Iraq and back into Afghanistan under Obama, and it's dead. It's crickets. So just like what they're calling a riots, like the Black Lives Matter riots, they're not riots to liberals, right? But the thing with the Capitol is a riot to a liberal. That was a riot, right?
Yes.
But the other thing, and then I'll hang up. But I have found, and having been in a whole bunch of these myself, that Clausewitz, war has an objective. It's politics by other means.
Yes.
And usually you define what victory means. And since the end of World War II, when we have Korea, which it's a little, then the definition gets a little nebulous. definitely nebulous in Vietnam. The war on terror, there's no the objective seems to be perpetual war itself.
Yes.
Perpetual conflict with no defined, that's and it goes hand in hand, I think, with the fascist government, which, Mike can tell you what the definition is. It's basically when the state and business basically teams up at the expense of people, and they're running these horribly, tremendously profitable wars that, of course, is killing us and killing people all around the world. But profit's the big business, and there's no objective. They're ongoing. And it doesn't even seem to be any more war. It's just killing for profit. And that's it for me. I would love to hear
It's
what
always been that way. I mean, if you go back to Smedley Butler and his little pamphlet, War is a Racket, I mean, if you haven't read that, you need to hunt that down. Okay, Dr. Knox?
I have read that, yeah.
all great points, and appreciate it, Peter. Pat was also talking about U.S. presidents, not just President Obama, but as far as I'm concerned, they're all warmongers. They've all been warmongers. I know that President Obama, every time he would see someone in uniform, he would have them stand up and tell them that they were the best this country has to offer. Thank you for your service. You're true American heroes. Again, not talking about the teachers and the farmers and the healthcare workers and the tradespeople and all the people who contribute to our community. But the soldiers are always on the mind of the president because they are basically militaristic, and they become president because the businesses and others who profit from war support their candidacies and the candidacies of other people in Congress. So, I would say that, he's right on in terms of his assessment of President Obama.
Presidents may come and presidents may go, but the wars seem to go on forever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But when Obama took office, we had Iraq and Afghanistan. In the week of his inauguration, he invaded Pakistan, and then we had Somalia, Libya, Yemen, and Syria added to that. So we start out, with a couple of wars and end up with 6 or 7 countries that we're killing people in. And there's no reason for it. There's no objective for it that we know of except making money and killing people. And they're poor people. These are defenseless people. And not one of the countries that we've invaded has ever attacked the United States or been any threat to the United States. They're poor, underdeveloped countries that don't have the resources to even defend themselves. And the people that we murder are people that have no means of defense. They're helpless. Women, children, family people, old people just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time because the United States is mad at their leaders.
Or they covet the natural resources of the country. I mean, right now Syria says the United States is controlling 90% of Syria's oil.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. But there's always a reason, and maybe that we don't like their philosophy. We're going after non-Christian nations right now. We went after Asian nations and Korea, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. Because I don't know why, because they were allied with communist countries, perhaps. But
the reason for going into Vietnam was partly access to the heroin coming out of the Golden Triangle.
Well, there are variety of reasons. Yeah.
Okay, well, Peter, thank you very much for the phone call, and we're going to switch over to Chris in Clearwater. Hello, Chris. Welcome to the show. Do you have a question for Dr. Knox?
If you'd like to comment on my point, just a couple quick points. Cindy Sheehan, the caller, mentioned, of course, don't idolize anybody, no matter how much you do trust them. Check out whatever you're going to repeat. And when it comes to Cindy Sheehan, I have nothing really to criticize her on, although one of her handlers back in 2009 at an event in St. Petersburg near here really surprised me when I was just hanging out at an event with Cindy Sheehan and waiting nearby in case she had a chance to talk. And her handler next to her said, "Oh, you're that," something to the effect, "you're that 9/11 guy." And sent a strong signal to me. It didn't stop me from if she was available to talk to speak to her, but it really, made me wonder, is this government controlled, even if it's not? I can understand she looked at my profile online and knew ahead of time, but for her to just greet me that way was kind of surprising. And, maybe she's afraid of me interviewing her and having some criticism, but of course I don't have anything really
I'm
near
sure that anybody who rises to prominence as an anti-war person or any kind of an activist, you have to be careful that some of the people around you who want to support you are actually there to infiltrate and try and steer you. And certainly Cindy Sheehan for a long while was a highly, highly visible anti-war personality.
Yeah, she was. It was the manner in which I'll call her the lady, a handler, I don't know what she was, her friend, her acquaintance greeted me. Her manner that really was most striking. Mm-hmm. And the second point is that call into radio shows, folks, just take the information you get on this show, take notes if you don't have the time to research, and call into shows, make notes, record your calls, because I found... about 12, 13 years ago when I called in a warmongering talk show host who's now nationally syndicated, by the way. He edited my call on the fly. During the call, he actually took a clip from a previous call of mine, and it made my call sound foolish, where he replaced what I was saying. So what you do is you record it live, and if you have continuous footage showing that it was broadcast a certain way, say after your call, go over to the tape recorder and press play it back and see if it matches the way you recorded it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on here. I remember one time the New York Times claimed that I thought there were ancient civilizations on Mars, which was nonsense. All right, Chris, I need to let you go. We're going to close the phone lines. We're going to take a break for commercials, and we're going to come back and finish up with Dr. Michael D. Knox and the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We have a special promotion going on at Republic Broadcasting. This is a fundraiser for Republic Broadcasting involving the Energy Cleaner. Mail me a postcard. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. We pick a postcard every other Thursday. When your postcard is drawn out, you get to buy an Energy Cleaner for $215 instead of $285, $70 discount. $200 goes to Republic Broadcasting. You also get a 10% discount on my mattress pads. So get those postcards in, put your name, your telephone number, your email address on there, and when your postcard is drawn, you get to get an Energy Cleaner for $215 instead of $285. Mattress pads, 10% off. Help us out at Republic Broadcasting and help yourself to get an Energy Cleaner at a deep discount. It's a win-win situation for everybody. We hope you can get these postcards in soon. Thank you very much.
For over 20 years now, Extendivite has proven time and again it really works. Here is a testimonial from Amazon.com. I received an arterial switch at birth. In my mid-20s, I started getting slight runs of NSVT. Nothing too serious, but enough to cause worry. I started taking Extendivite a little over 2 years ago, and it helped cut the palpitations and NSVT down drastically. This isn't a cure-all supplement. I strongly recommend a good diet and exercise to aid in any heart troubles you may be having, and I strongly recommend giving Extendivite a try. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. That's HEARTDROP.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
Corporations, Wall Street and the banks rule our politicians. They don't deserve our thanks, then they tell us the banks are too big to fail, when the banksters all need to be in jail.
Welcome back to our show here, and we're finishing up with Dr. Michael D. Knox, who's the chair and founder of the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation. I've been out there checking my doorstep to see if my copy of the book has arrived yet, but no joy at this particular point. Once again, the website is uspeacememorial.org. And Dr. Knox, is there anything you want to share with our listeners regarding the book and how to get it and why it's important?
Well, I just hope that people will look at it. If they look at Amazon, they can actually, I think, read the first 40 or 50 pages for free. I hope they'll get them interested and that they will join our effort. The U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation is a 501c3, not for profit. And we are looking to have 1,000 founding members from representing all 50 states before we go public. And we have every state and the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, except Delaware, Mississippi, Nebraska, South Dakota, Rhode Island, and South Carolina. So we're trying to add some more states, but also we need another 500 founding members before we will be at that magic 1,000 number where we can really start to have our fundraising campaign to raise the money necessary to build the U.S. Peace Memorial. So I hope your members and listeners, rather, will join us as founding members and take a look at the book.
Well, I certainly hope so, and not just because I'm mentioned in it. And I promise you, if I win the Powerball, you will get a big chunk of the prize, okay?
Wow, wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael. And we're going to let you go now. And once again, that is uspeacememorial.org. And again, a link to buy the book is right at the main page of whatreallyhappened.com. Getting on last couple of news items here before the end of the show. NASA and Microsoft are out there trying to emphasize that learning how to code is important if you want to get a good career, and that more and more NASA relies on software-driven hardware. Wasn't that way in the early days. Mercury, for example, they were just starting to get computers. The Mercury was literally controlled from the ground by a pre-recorded taped set of data signals. And now, of course, there's all these different machines out there, so coding is a good thing to learn. It's good to learn anyway in this day and age, and unfortunately, somebody's probably going to come back and say that coding is racist. All right, now then, interesting little article. This is coming out of the Duran.com, asking if the Elgin marbles should be returned to Greece. Now, if you don't know what we're talking about, if you go on out to the Parthenon, there are some gaps in the top of the building up by the roof where there used to be all of these statues, which were basically grabbed and brought back to the British Museum, and now Greece wants them back. And I think possibly it might be time for that to happen. Okay, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.